Today, I received a powerful spiritual message about a surprising discovery, something left behind that carried more meaning than expected, and a reminder that true love is often found beyond material things. Let's understand this message. This section is an urgent wake-up call designed to stop you in your tracks. It reveals that your arrival here is a divine appointment, not an accident. We are addressing the deep, hidden wound caused by a recent inheritance dispute or disappointing will, and this is where your shift in spirit begins.
Don't move. Don't skip this. What you are about to hear in the next few moments was not placed before you by accident. You were guided here. God Himself directed your eyes and your heart to this exact message at this exact hour, because what you found in that will has left a wound inside you that no one around you can see. And heaven has something to say about it. Within the hour, something is going to shift inside your spirit. A weight you have been carrying since the day that document was placed in your hands. Since the moment you read those words and felt the floor disappear beneath your feet, that weight is about to be lifted. Not because the world will suddenly make sense, but because God is going to show you what He saw. He is going to tell you what it meant, not what the lawyers said, not what the family whispered, what heaven recorded. Pay close attention, because this message is not for everyone. It is for the one who sat in a room, maybe a lawyer's office, maybe a kitchen table, maybe alone at night, and read words that broke something open inside them. It is for the one who is still asking the question they cannot say out loud. Did they love me? Did they really mean that? Why? Why did they do it that way? Hold on until the end, because God says, I know what you found. I know what it cost you to read it, and I am about to show you what it really meant.
This section takes you back to that pivotal moment when you read the document, and something fractured deep within you. It's not about greed. It's about the devastating realization that the real story of your family wasn't written on those pages, leaving you either omitted entirely or treated with painful inequality.
You didn't expect it to feel the way it felt. You thought maybe you had prepared yourself. You had told yourself it didn't matter. That money was just money. That things were just things. That you weren't the kind of person who needed to be included to feel valued. You rehearsed it in your mind 100 times before that day came, and then you read it. And something cracked. Don't skip this, because what cracked wasn't greed. It wasn't selfishness. It was something far older and far deeper than that. It was the hope, the quiet, sacred hope you had carried for years, that at the end, when there was nothing left to perform, when there was no more family peace to protect, no more faces to manage, no more silences to preserve, that at the end they would tell the truth, that the will would be the place where the real story was finally written down. And for some of you, what you found was absence, your name missing from the pages, a list of names, children, grandchildren, friends, and yours not among them. You read it twice, 3 times. You kept looking, thinking there must be an error, a second page, a later document, but there was nothing. You were not there, and for others, it wasn't absence, it was inequality. You were there, but you were given the least, while someone else, someone who was not there in the hard years, someone who did not sit beside the hospital bed, someone who did not make the calls and arrange the appointments and hold the hand through the fear, was given the most. And you sat with that paper in your hands, and you felt something you didn't have a name for.
This section directly validates the silent pain you are carrying. It acknowledges how you've been faking fine through family dinners and obligations, carrying a heavy secret. We are declaring that God sees this hidden wound, and it's time to let heaven know you are ready for healing.
God sees you in that moment. He sees you folding that document and putting it away. He sees you standing up and composing your face before you walk back into the room. He sees the meal you sat through afterward, answering questions, passing dishes, pretending to be fine, while inside you were asking the one question that would not leave you alone. What did I mean to them? Did I matter at all? Type, "God sees what I carry" in the comments if you have ever smiled through a moment that was breaking you inside. Let heaven know you are here. This message doesn't stop with you. It reaches the one who is still searching, still doubting, still crying out in the dark. If this ministry has strengthened your faith, consider strengthening someone else's. When you give through the link in the description or pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, partnering monthly, or joining our Ko-fi community, you're not funding content, you're fueling the Great Commission. Every gift becomes gospel carried further. Every act of generosity pushes light into places we may never physically stand. There are people one message away from hope, one prayer away from surrender, one encounter away from salvation. Your generosity helps us reach them. This is more than support, it's participation. You're stepping into the harvest field with us. And when heaven counts the souls reached, your obedience will be written into their story. If the Spirit is prompting you, don't ignore it. Step into the work. Let's bring the lost home. You are not wrong for feeling this. You are not small. You are not weak. The wound you are carrying is one of the most specific and devastating a human heart can hold, because it is not just grief. It is grief mixed with confusion. It is love mixed with doubt. It is decades of relationship suddenly pressed through a single document and made to mean something you never expected. Don't skip, because what God has to say about this is not what you think.
This section shifts the narrative entirely. We are moving from the lawyer's logic to heaven's perspective. Discover what God recorded during the quiet hours before that will was written, revealing the true pressures and motivations involved, and beginning to dismantle the false story that has been told about you.
Here is what heaven sees. Here is what God recorded in the hours and days before they left this world. I need you to hold very still as I tell you this, because this is the part that will begin to heal what the document wounded. They thought about you. In the quiet hours, the ones you will never know about, the hours before dawn when the room was still, and the world outside was not yet moving, they thought about you. Not just once, not in passing. They lay there, and they went back through the years, and they saw your face at 100 different ages and in 100 different rooms, and something inside them moved. Pay close attention, because what happened in the making of that will was not a simple thing. There were pressures you did not see. There were voices you did not hear. There were fears operating in that room that had nothing to do with how much they valued you, and everything to do with what they were afraid of. God is not asking you to excuse what was done. He is asking you to see what was true underneath it. The person who influenced that document, the one whose hand was behind what you found, they are not at peace. You need to know this, because right now, in the days since the will was read, something has begun to happen to them, a discomfort they cannot name, a restlessness that no routine can quiet. God is placing your face before their eyes, not as a weapon, as a truth they are not ready to face but cannot escape. Something very big is coming your way, because God is beginning to dismantle the story that was told about you, the narrative that was built the quiet one, the one assembled over years through small comments and selective memories, God is now placing the real record before the eyes of everyone involved. Every sacrifice you made, every time you showed up, every year you were present, it is being remembered, not by the people in that room, by heaven, and heaven's record is the only one that will stand.
This section is a direct, prophetic warning. The revelation has only just begun. We describe how a divine disruption is now affecting the person who seemingly gained everything. They are beginning to feel the weight of an accusation they can't escape, as God starts placing your name in the room they are sitting in.
Type, "Heaven has my record" in the comments if you believe God saw what others overlooked. Receive this promise over your name today. The one who was given everything, or the one who ensured the arrangement went the way it did, they are receiving something right now that no inheritance can compensate for. They are receiving the quiet knowledge that what was built on an incomplete foundation doesn't stand the way solid things stand. They can feel it. They cannot say what they feel. But God is at work. Don't skip this, because the revelation is only beginning. Let me describe what is happening right now to the one whose name was written where yours should have been, or the one who stood between you and what should have been yours. I want you to see this, not out of bitterness, but because God says you are allowed to know that your pain did not go unwitnessed and unanswered. They are sitting somewhere right now, perhaps at a table, perhaps in a house that now holds things that were never theirs to carry, and they are not comfortable. There is a weight in the rooms around them that was not there before. Objects that should feel like prizes feel like questions. Spaces that should feel like inheritance feel like accusations. Something is off, something they cannot locate or name. Don't skip, because this is not coincidence. This is God. A few days ago, or perhaps just hours ago, someone said something, a casual comment, a question about the family, a memory someone shared at the table that included your name, your role, your years. And the one who received what you did not receive sat very still for a moment, and something behind their eyes moved. They covered it quickly. They changed the subject. But it happened. God placed your name in the room, and they felt it land.
This section peels back the layers of comfort for those who hurt you. God is showing us that their justifications are developing cracks. Through these cracks, the truth is emerging, bringing a clarity that is necessary, but not gentle. Their sleep is being disturbed, and something significant is required of them.
There is a question forming inside them that they do not yet have the courage to ask aloud. It is this: was what was done right? Not legally, not practically. They know the answer to those questions, but morally. In the deep place where a person knows what kind of person they are, was it right? Was I right? Did I do what I would want done to me? Their thumb hovered over your name in their phone just recently. You may not know this, but the thought came. The impulse rose, and then pride, old, familiar, quiet pride, pressed the thought back down. They told themselves it was too complicated, that too much time had passed, that you wouldn't want to hear from them. But the truth is simpler and harder than that. They are afraid of what your voice would make them feel. Pay close attention, because God is not finished with them. What began as a passing discomfort is growing into something that will not let them sleep the way they used to sleep. The story they told themselves about why the arrangement was fair, about why you didn't need what they received, about the reasons and the logic and the justifications, that story is developing cracks. And through those cracks, something very old and very true is beginning to come through. Type, God is working on their heart. In the comments, if you believe that what was done in darkness will be brought into the light. This is your declaration of trust. The divine disruption has begun. God is removing the comfort that allows people to do wrong and feel nothing. He is replacing it with clarity. And clarity, when it arrives, is not gentle. It is necessary. They cannot continue as they have continued. Something is being required of them that the inheritance cannot purchase and the document cannot satisfy. Something is being required that only honesty and humility can provide. Don't move, because what comes next, what God is scripting in the days ahead, is something you stopped daring to hope for. And hope, beloved child, is about to return to you.
This section is the moment of breakthrough. Heaven is scripting an encounter, and we are speaking it over your wounds right now. You are about to hear a genuine, slow, necessary "I'm sorry." And this section guides you on how to receive this long-awaited validation that your life was indeed more important than the document.
God is showing me the moment that is coming, not the moment as the world arranges things, but the moment as heaven has written it. The moment when what has been held back finally breaks through. I want to speak these words to you as if you are standing in that moment, because you will stand in it. And when you do, I want these words to already be familiar inside your spirit. They will come to you. It may be a call. It may be a message. It may be a knock at your door at an hour you did not expect. But they will come. And when they do, this is what heaven says will be spoken. I have been thinking about you. I have been thinking about you for longer than I have been willing to admit. And I know that what happened with the will, with all of it, was not right. I knew it when it was happening. I know it now more clearly than I have ever known anything. And I am sorry. I am so sorry. Not in the way people say sorry when they want the conversation to end. I am sorry in the way that means I see what I did and I see what it cost you and I wish I could take it back. Don't skip this. Let these words settle into you. Let heaven speak them over your wounds right now. You were there. You were always there. When it was hard, and when it was thankless, and when no one was watching, and when no one was counting, you were there. And what you gave cannot be put in a document. What you gave was not a thing that gets divided up and assigned a dollar value. What you gave was your life, your time, your love. And I minimized that. And I was wrong. I need you to know that I have been carrying this. That the thing I have, whether it is money or objects or the recognition that should have been shared, it does not feel the way I thought it would feel. It does not fill the room the way I thought it would, because you are not in the room. And that is a specific kind of emptiness that I did not anticipate and cannot fix with what I was given. Type, "My worth was never in a document" in the comments if you receive this truth today. Let it become the declaration of your healing.
This section reveals that God is collecting the scattered fragments of your broken heart to build something stronger. We must address the specific unritualized grief of being written out or written small by someone you loved, and God wants to sit with you, purely present in the pain you've been carrying alone.
Revival doesn't spread by accident. It spreads because believers decide to act. If this message stirred something in you, imagine what it could do for someone who has never heard truth spoken with clarity. When you give through the link below, whether once or as an ongoing partner, you help send the gospel beyond this moment. You become part of every testimony, part of every restored heart, part of every soul that turns back to Christ. Your generosity turns sermons into lifelines, and videos into divine appointments. Scripture tells us that some plant, some water, but God brings the increase. Today, you can be the one who plants. If you believe souls matter, this is your opportunity to move from agreement to action. Let's reach them while there is still time. I am scared. I am scared that I waited too long. I am scared that the distance has become something permanent. I am scared that one day I will reach, and there will be nothing to reach back. And that fear which I created is the truest form of justice I have ever known. I am not asking you to forgive me quickly. I am asking you to know that I see what happened, and I am asking if we can begin again. God is collecting the fragments of your broken heart right now. Every piece that shattered when you read that document, every splinter of trust and love and hope that scattered across the floor, He is gathering them, not to reassemble what was, to build something stronger, something that was tested by fire and did not disappear, something that is yours and cannot be taken from you again. This is the part most people scroll past, but it is where your breakthrough begins. Do not leave yet. Before we go further, before God shows you the fullness of what is coming, He wants to sit with you for a moment, not to give you more promises, to simply be present with you in the place where the pain lives, because there is a grief in what you experienced that the world does not have words for.
This section is your affirmation of guiltlessness. We are here to validate that you are not guilty of loving the wrong person or giving too much. Every year of silent service, every sacrifice made without recognition, heaven saw it all, and God's record is what truly determines your eternity.
The world knows how to grieve a death. It has rituals for that. It has flowers and gatherings and sympathy cards and designated time away from work. But the grief of a will, the grief of being written out or written small by someone you loved, the world has no ritual for that. You are expected to move on, to be mature, to not let it affect the family, to prioritize peace. And so you have been carrying this alone, in silence, in the privacy of your own home, in the hours when no one is watching. You have sat with this and turned it over and held it up to the light and tried to find the angle where it makes sense, where it doesn't hurt, where you can put it down and leave it there. And you have not found that angle, because it does not exist, because what was done was not fair, and your heart knows it. God says, I saw the evening you came home and sat in your chair for a long time without turning on any lights. I was there. I saw you hold the phone and not call anyone because there was no one you could call who would truly understand what you were feeling without making it worse. I was sitting across from you. You were not alone in that room, even though it felt that way. If you have found this channel and this message meaningful, I want to invite you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. When you do, you are telling destiny that you are committed to receiving every prophetic word God sends to the ones who need it most. You are not subscribing to a channel. You are opening a door that heaven has been waiting to walk through in your life. Do it now, and then let us continue. He saw the Sunday you went to the gathering, maybe a family occasion, maybe a church service, and you sat in that room, and you smiled, and you participated, and you performed the version of yourself that everyone needed you to be. And inside, there was a sound, like something very old and very tired finally sitting down. You were exhausted from being fine, and no one asked how you were. Not really. Not in the way that would have allowed a true answer.
This section is the conclusion of the story. God's restoration is always greater than the original loss. We are declaring the total restoration of your name, your family relationships, including grandchildren, and your financial security, reminding you that heaven's record, where your name is written first, is the only final word.
God says, "You did not go wrong. This was not your failure. The document that was written does not define what you gave, what you meant, or what you are owed. The document was written by people operating from their own fears and their own wounds and their own limited vision. But God's record is different. God's record shows every year of service, every sacrifice made without recognition, every time you loved without being loved back in equal measure. And God's record is the one that determines what is distributed in eternity. Type, "I did not go wrong" in the comments. Say it over yourself today. Let it be the first word of your freedom. You are not guilty of loving the wrong person. You are not guilty of giving too much to someone who could not properly receive what you gave. You are not guilty of hoping for something that seemed reasonable and human and fair. You are not guilty. You are a person who loved with everything they had, and you deserve to be seen for that. And heaven is seeing you. Heaven has always been seeing you. Share this message with one person you know who is carrying a grief the world doesn't recognize. When you share it, you extend the anointing. You multiply the blessing beyond yourself. God is now placing specific memories before the eyes of the one who hurt you, not as punishment, as truth, as the real record pressing through the constructed one. I want you to hear what they are seeing, because these are the moments that heaven kept. These are the ones that will not leave them. The first memory is a smell. It is the smell of your home, the specific combination of things that were always there, things that existed only in your presence. It might be the smell of something cooking, something baked, something cleaned. It might be the smell of a specific room or a specific season at your house. That smell is in their nose right now, uninvited, arriving without warning in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. And with it comes a feeling they cannot suppress. Safety. You were safety. You were the version of home that smelled like that. And they have not found that smell anywhere else since they left it behind. Don't skip. The second memory is a sound. It is the sound of your voice in a particular moment, not a dramatic moment, not a memorable occasion, but an ordinary one. Calling them for a meal, answering a question, laughing at something small. Your voice in a moment when you did not know you were being recorded by heaven but were. That sound is playing in their memory right now like a song that arrives when you are not looking for it. And they are sitting with the knowledge that nobody in their life speaks to them the way you did. Nobody gives them that particular quality of attention. It is gone from the room. They are beginning to feel its absence. The third memory is a touch, your hands. Something you did with your hands that was ordinary to you and irreplaceable to them, holding them when they were sick, working alongside them. The specific weight and warmth of your presence in a physical space. Their body remembers it the way bodies remember things that the mind tries to dismiss. And that memory in the body is speaking a truth that no document can overwrite. Type, "Heaven kept what they forgot" in the comments. Let this be your declaration that the real record exists. There are people battling silent storms who will never walk into a church, but they will click on a message like this. When you give through the link in the description or pinned comment, you help us meet them there. You help us speak truth where confusion reigns. You help us proclaim Christ where compromise has grown loud. This isn't about sustaining a platform. It's about standing in the gap for someone eternity-bound. Your seed becomes truth for the deceived, strength for the weary, invitation for the lost. And while we may never know every name this side of heaven, God does. If you've ever prayed, "Lord, use me," this is one way He does. Join the mission. Let's carry the gospel further, together. The fourth memory is a time of day. It is a specific time: morning coffee, evening quiet, a particular weekly moment when you and they were simply together, not celebrating, not accomplishing anything, just present, just alive in the same space. They are realizing now that they undervalued those moments when they had them. They counted them as ordinary. They are no longer ordinary to them. They are the texture of the life that used to hold them, and they are feeling its absence like a persistent cold in the chest. And this is what heaven is using to open what pride has sealed. Something very big is coming your way. God is now actively moving, not preparing to move, not considering it, moving. The intervention is not a future event, it has already begun. The discomfort the other person is experiencing is not random. It is directed, it is purposeful, and it is leading somewhere specific. I want you to see this scene. Close your eyes if you can, and let heaven paint this for you. There is a moment coming, it is not far, when there will be a reaching out, a contact made. And when it comes, it will not be polished. It will not be prepared. It will arrive the way real things arrive, unannounced, a little undone, with something shaking in it that tells you it is not performance, but confession. They will come to you with the specific humility that can only be built from weeks of sleepless realizations. And they will say, "I'm sorry," not the quick version, the slow one, the one that does not move past the words too fast, but sits in them and lets them be what they are. And there will be something in the room that was not there before, a quality of honesty that changes the air. And your body will know before your mind does that something has shifted, something that was locked has opened. Pay close attention, because the healing is not only emotional. God says, the tension you have been carrying in your body, the tightness in your chest, the disrupted sleep, the weight that arrived with that document and has not left it, has a spiritual origin, and it will have a spiritual release. When reconciliation begins, when honesty finally enters the room between you, your body will begin to release what medicine has been unable to touch. God designed you that way. Your healing and your restoration are connected. They are one thing. Type, "My healing is on its way," in the comments if you receive this promise for your body and your spirit today. Stop counting days. Stop measuring the silence and trying to calculate when it will end. Start counting signs, because the signs are already present. The fact that you found this message is a sign. The fact that something in you opened to the words you are hearing right now is a sign. The fact that the wound is still tender, that you have not become hard, that you have not closed, is the greatest sign of all. Because God does not restore what has become stone. He restores what is still alive. And you, beloved child, are still alive in the places that matter most. But God says, what is coming is not only the repair of this one wound. When He restores, He does not restore partially. He restores beyond the original. He gives back what was taken and then adds what was never given. This is the nature of divine restoration, and it is moving toward you right now on multiple fronts. Your grandchildren, the ones you have not seen enough of, the ones whose growing you have been missing from the edges, they are going to know you fully, genuinely, not as a name or a photograph, but as a presence in their lives that shapes them. There will be ordinary afternoons at your table. There will be questions asked that only you can answer. There will be a grandchild who looks at you one day and sees in your eyes the history of the family, the real history, the one that was never written in any document, and who asks you to tell it, and you will tell it, and it will become part of who they are. Don't skip, because what is being restored is not only the relationship, it is your identity within the family. The story about who you were and what you contributed is being rewritten, not by you, by the truth, by the people who are beginning to see clearly what was obscured by influence and fear. There will come a gathering, a holiday, a meal, an occasion where someone in that room looks at you and says something that the room needed to hear, something that names what you are, something that finally tells the true story. And the room will go quiet in the way rooms go quiet when something important has been spoken aloud for the first time. Your finances, the practical, earthly concerns that the will left disturbed, God is attending to those as well. What was withheld from you by human hands will be supplied through divine channels. He is a God who restores the years the locusts have eaten. He is a God who opens storehouses that no human hand can close. You will not be left with less than you need. You will be provided for, and the provision will arrive in ways that remind you that the document was never the source of your security. God was always the source. God will remain the source. Type, "My legacy is greater than what was written," in the comments. Claim the full restoration of your name, your family, and your future. Share this with one person whose name was left out of something it should have been in. Someone who is carrying this specific wound in secret. When you share this, you extend the healing. You are choosing to be a carrier of restoration rather than a keeper of pain. That choice itself is an act of divine partnership. The story of your family, including this painful chapter, will become something that inspires others. You will look back one day at this season and see it not as the year you were diminished, but as the year the truth began to surface. The year God began to move. The year restoration became not a wish but a process. And people who are walking through their own version of this wound will need to hear your story. Because God wastes nothing, not even this. We are at the end of this time together. But before I release you, God wants to do one final thing. I want you to close your eyes if you are able, and I want you to picture the face of the person who hurt you not as they are now, not in the context of what happened, but when they were young, when they were innocent, when the years had not yet pressed them into the person who made the choices they made. See that face, the one that existed before everything became complicated. That is the person God is working on, not the version hardened by time and influence and fear, the original one, the one He made. And He is calling that person home not to a place, but to the truth of who they were created to be. This is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the real one. What is coming is not the restoration of what was. It is the resurrection of something that was never fully alive between you. A bond built not on obligation or tradition, but on truth and honesty and the hard-won understanding of what matters. That is what God is building in the days ahead, and you, beloved child, will not have to force it or arrange it or perform your way toward it. You simply have to remain open, remain alive, remain present to the signs. Now I want to ask 3 things of you as an act of faith and partnership with what heaven is doing. First, type, "It is done." I receive it in the comments right now. Let that be your declaration in the spiritual realm. Let it be the marker that says, I believe this promise is for me. I receive the restoration of my name, my family, my peace, and my legacy. It is done. Second, share this message with one person who needs it. You know who they are. The name came to you as you watched. Send this to them, not with a long explanation, simply with, this is for you. When you share it, you multiply the blessing and participate in the restoration of someone else's story. Third, if you have not yet subscribed, subscribe now and turn on the bell. You are telling destiny that you will not miss the messages heaven sends. You are saying, I am here. I am open. I am ready for what God has prepared. That is not a small thing. That is a covenant declaration. It is done. Receive it. Believe it. Watch it manifest. The document that was written about you in an office by human hands is not the final word. Heaven's document, the one written before you were born, the one that records every year and every sacrifice and every tear and every act of love, that is the document that stands. And in that document, your name is written first. Your name is written large. Your name is written in a hand that does not change and does not forget. God says, I see you. I saw what happened. I saw what it cost you, and I am not finished. The best of your story has not yet been told. Go into the days ahead, with your eyes open and your heart open and your hands open. What I am sending directly to you. Amen.